The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning. Captain John Harrison sat at his desk in the Earth Diplomatic Court headquarters, a cup of coffee cooling beside him. The holographic display flickered before his eyes, showing the formal invitation. After reading it 3 times, he finally allowed himself to believe it was real. Humanity had been invited to join the Galactic Concord. John ran his hand through his graying hair and looked out the window at the gleaming spires of New Washington. After 200 years of isolation following the brutal Proxima War, the 17 advanced alien civilizations that made up the Concord had finally decided Earth was worthy of consideration. The invitation was both an honor and a test. To join the Concord, humanity needed to showcase its military capabilities at the Grand Exhibition on Centauri Prime. All member species would be there to evaluate Earth's technological advancement. John tapped his communication badge. "Get me Admiral Ryan," he said. This news was too important for a regular message. 30 minutes later, John stood in the high-ceilinged war room at Earth Defense Command. The room was filled with military officers and government officials, their faces showing a mix of excitement and worry. "The Concord expects us to be primitive," Admiral George Ryan said, his voice echoing in the large room. "They believe our isolation after the Proxima War has left us far behind their technology." "What will we show them?" asked Defense Minister Olivia Grant. "Our newest ships could impress them, but do we want to reveal our true capabilities?" The room grew quiet as everyone considered the question. Revealing Earth's advanced fleet might earn respect, but it would also expose their tactical advantages. Admiral Ryan walked to the center of the room and activated the main display. "I propose we show them exactly what they expect to see," he said with a slight smile. The display lit up with images of old Earth warships, vessels that had been placed in storage decades ago. They were bulky, battle-scarred, and considered completely obsolete by modern standards. John understood immediately. "You want to send the mothball fleet," he said. "Let them think we're technologically behind." "Precisely," Ryan nodded. "We send our museum pieces, not our real fleet." Defense Minister Grant frowned. "Will that not hurt our chances of joining the Concord?" "On the contrary," John replied, seeing the brilliance of Ryan's plan. "If they accept us based on these old ships, they're truly interested in alliance. If not..." He let the implication hang in the air. "And if trouble comes?" asked Commander Sam Wilson from the Tactical Division. Admiral Ryan's smile grew wider. "Then we show them what those old ships can really do." The vote was unanimous. Earth would send 30 ships from its oldest fleet to represent humanity at the exhibition. The ships would leave space dock in 1 week, commanded by Admiral Frank Peterson, a veteran officer who understood the delicate balance between diplomacy and military readiness. As the meeting ended, John walked with Admiral Ryan through the corridors of the command center. "The Arcturians, the Meridians, the Genti, they all think humans are barely space-capable," John said quietly. "They've been watching us for centuries, but they've only seen what we've allowed them to see." Ryan nodded. "That's our advantage. They expect primitives with nuclear missiles and basic shield technology. They have no idea what we've developed since the Proxima War. Will Peterson's crew be able to maintain the deception? They'll face mockery from the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy." "Peterson handpicked his people," Ryan assured him. "They understand the mission. Not a single crew member will reveal our true capabilities unless absolutely necessary." John stopped at the viewport and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Concord waited to judge humanity's worth. "I hope this works," he said. "If we're rejected from the Concord, we remain vulnerable. Alone." Admiral Ryan placed a hand on John's shoulder. "Have faith, Captain. Sometimes the oldest trick is the best one. We'll show them exactly what they expect to see, until the moment we need to show them more." As John returned to his office to prepare for the journey to Centauri Prime, he could already imagine the looks on the alien delegates' faces when they saw Earth's obsolete fleet. The deception had begun. The human diplomatic vessel Horizon dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Centauri system. Its engines hummed quietly as it moved toward the bright blue planet that served as the Galactic Concorde's exhibition grounds. Ambassador Susan Miller stood on the bridge beside Captain John Harrison. Her gray suit was pressed perfectly, her posture straight and confident despite the butterflies in her stomach. This was the most important diplomatic mission of her career. "Nervous?" John asked quietly. Susan smiled thinly. "Terrified. But I won't show it." The main view screen switched on, showing the approach to Centauri Prime. Both humans fell silent at the sight before them. Hundreds of alien warships hovered in perfect formation around the planet. Their designs were as varied as the species that built them. Some were sleek and predatory, others strange and organic, some barely visible except for distortions in space. "My God," Susan whispered, "they're all so advanced." Lieutenant Kate Foster stood at her station, carefully recording every alien vessel. Her eyes moved quickly from ship to ship, analyzing their designs. "The silver ones must be Arcturian quantum destroyers," she said. "And those crystal structures, Meridian thought vessels. The organic-looking swarms are Gentei high ships." John nodded, impressed by her knowledge. "And now they'll see ours." Behind the horizon, 30 human warships emerged from FTL jumps. They were boxy, utilitarian vessels with visible welding seams and outdated weapon systems mounted on their hulls. Their armor plates showed scars from old battles, and their engine nacelles glowed with simple fusion power, not the exotic energies of the alien craft. The flagship of the human fleet was the Endurance, commanded by Admiral Frank Peterson. It was the largest of the human vessels, but still tiny compared to most of the alien flagships. "Earth Diplomatic Vessel Horizon. This is Centauri Control," came a voice over the communication system. "You are cleared for approach. Your military vessels will be directed to Exhibition Zone 12 for inspection and display." Susan took a deep breath and replied, "Thank you, Centauri Control. We are honored to attend the grand exhibition." As they approached the massive orbital station that served as the Concorde's diplomatic center, they could see alien representatives watching the arrival of the human fleet. Some used viewing instruments, others simply stared with their various sensory organs. "They're looking at our ships like museum pieces," Kate observed. "Good," John replied with a slight smile. "That's exactly what we want." The Horizon docked with the station, and the human delegation prepared to disembark. Ambassador Miller straightened her jacket one last time and led the way to the airlock. The reception area was filled with alien representatives. Tall, slender Arcturians with blue skin and 4 arms, crystalline Meridians floating in containment fields, insectoid Gentei with clicking mandibles and compound eyes. Dozens of other species that humans had only seen in briefing documents. A Gentei military attaché approached their group, his translator device converting his clicks and chirps to English. "Your vessels have arrived safely. They are quite different from what we expected." Susan could hear the amusement in the translation. "We are a young species," she replied diplomatically, "but eager to learn." "Of course," the Gentei replied. "The Concorde values all technological development stages." Meanwhile, on the Endurance, Admiral Peterson watched as a Concorde inspection team approached in a shuttle. His crew stood at attention, their uniforms pressed, and their faces serious. "Remember," he told them quietly, "we show only what we want them to see. Nothing more." The ship's computer system gave a subtle alert, confirming that all advanced systems were locked down and hidden. To any scanner, the Endurance would appear to be exactly what it looked like, an outdated warship with basic technology. As the Concorde inspectors docked with the Endurance, Peterson smiled at his executive officer. "Let the show begin." The first act of humanity's great deception was underway. And not a single alien in the Galactic Concorde suspected the truth that lay beneath the weathered hulls of Earth's obsolete fleet. Admiral Frank Peterson greeted the Concorde inspection team with perfect military courtesy. He stood tall in his navy blue uniform as 5 alien officials entered the Endurance's main hangar bay. "Welcome aboard," he said with a slight bow. "We are honored to present Earth's defensive capabilities for your consideration." The inspection team consisted of representatives from the 5 founding species of the Galactic Concord. The Arcturian's blue skin seemed to shimmer under the hangar lights. The Meridian floated in a personal containment field, its crystalline form pulsing with inner light. The Gente's compound eyes reflected the room in hundreds of tiny mirrors. A gelatinous Phoraxian moved in a hover chair. The 5th member was a tall, furred Palaxian who seemed to be in charge. "We appreciate your historical vessels," the Palaxian said, not bothering to hide the amusement in his translator's voice. "The Concord values diversity of all technological development stages." Peterson's face remained perfectly neutral. "My crew will be happy to show you our ship's capabilities. Please follow me to the bridge." As they walked through the corridors, the inspection team scanned everything with handheld devices. The Meridian occasionally made soft chiming sounds that its translator didn't convert. "Your propulsion system?" the Arcturian asked. "It's fusion-based." "Yes," Peterson replied. "Standard fusion drives with gravitational wake stabilizers." "Fascinating," the Arcturian said. "We haven't seen such systems in operational vessels for over 2 centuries. On the bridge, the crew stood at attention at their stations. Lieutenant Eric Wells, the navigation officer, nodded respectfully to the visitors. "This is our command center," Peterson explained. "From here, we control all ship functions. Our targeting systems, shields, engines, everything is monitored and controlled from these stations." The Gentai moved to the weapons console and clicked its mandibles. "Nuclear missiles? Railguns? No quantum weaponry or phase disruptors. Earth's technology has developed along different lines," Peterson said calmly. "We find these weapons effective for our defensive needs." The inspection continued for 3 hours. The aliens examined the engine room, the crew quarters, and the weapon systems. They took readings, made notes, and occasionally exchanged glances that Peterson pretended not to notice. Their contempt was barely hidden. Meanwhile, in the Concord Diplomatic Center, Ambassador Susan Miller sat with Captain John Harrison and Lieutenant Kate Foster. They watched the live feeds from other species' presentations. An Arcturian quantum destroyer demonstrated its phase shift capabilities, disappearing from normal space and reappearing behind a target drone. A Meridian thought vessel created a perfect force bubble that nothing could penetrate. A Gentai HIV ship split into 30 smaller vessels that attacked as one mind before reforming. "They're so advanced," Kate whispered. "They think they are," John replied quietly. The door opened, and the Palaxian inspection leader entered. "Ambassador Miller," he said, "we have completed our review of your vessels." Susan stood and smiled politely. "We hope they meet the Concord standards." "They are. Interesting," the Palaxian said diplomatically. "Your technology is unique. Primitive, but functional." The Arcturian military representative joined them. "Remarkable that they achieved interstellar travel with such basic technology. Your species shows determination, if not innovation." Susan kept her diplomatic smile fixed in place. "We are a young species with much to learn." "Your demonstration is scheduled for tomorrow," the Palaxian said. "I'm curious to see how your vessels perform in the exhibition trials. Perhaps they will surprise us." After the aliens left, Kate clenched her fists. "They think we're children playing with toys." "Perfect," John said. "That's exactly what we want them to think." Susan nodded in agreement. "The more they underestimate us now, the more impressed they'll be later, if it becomes necessary to show our true capabilities." Back on the Endurance, Admiral Peterson received the inspection team's report. As expected, the Concord had classified human military technology as early interstellar development stage. The report recommended accepting Earth into the Concord as a developing member with limited voting rights. Peterson smiled as he read it. The first phase of humanity's plan had worked perfectly. Now they just needed to maintain the deception through the combat demonstrations tomorrow. What the Concorde didn't know was that inside the obsolete hulls of the human fleet, advanced systems waited silently, ready to awaken if needed. Day 2 of the grand exhibition began with excited chatter among the gathered species. The combat demonstrations would start soon, with each civilization showcasing their military capabilities through simulated warfare exercises. Lieutenant Kate Foster stood with Captain John Harrison in the observation deck of the Concorde Diplomatic Center. Below them, the vast exhibition space stretched for miles, divided into sectors for each species demonstration. "We're scheduled last," Kate noted, reviewing the program on her datapad. The afterthought. John nodded, just as we expected. Ambassador Susan Miller joined them, dressed in her formal diplomatic attire. "Our observers are in place throughout the exhibition. They're recording everything." The first demonstration began with a fanfare of alien music. The Arcturians moved their sleek vessels into formation with perfect precision. At a signal, the ships activated their quantum phase weaponry. The weapons fired beams that existed simultaneously in multiple dimensions, bypassing shields completely and striking targets with unerring accuracy. "Impressive," John admitted quietly. Next came the Meridians. Their crystalline ships performed impossible maneuvers, bending space-time itself. They could accelerate from standstill to near light speed in seconds, leaving no energy wake. Their weapons created temporary singularities that pulled targets apart molecule by molecule. The Gente demonstration was particularly frightening. Their high ships released clouds of smaller vessels that operated as a single mind. When attacked, the damaged sections regrew almost instantly using advanced biological technology. One by one, each species displayed technologies that seemed like magic, weapons that altered the laws of physics, shields that existed outside normal space, engines that bent reality itself. In the viewing box reserved for human observers, Admiral Frank Peterson watched calmly, taking mental notes. Beside him, his executive officer, Commander Laura Phillips, whispered, "Can our systems match any of this?" Peterson smiled slightly. "We'll find out if we need to." Finally, after 12 species had finished their demonstrations, it was humanity's turn. The announcement came with notably less excitement from the Concorde commentator. "And now, our newest potential members, the humans of Earth, will demonstrate their defensive capabilities." The 30 obsolete human warships moved into the demonstration area in a simple formation. Admiral Peterson's voice came over the communication system, clear and confident. "Earth Fleet beginning Standard Combat Exercise Alpha." What followed was exactly what the Concorde expected: textbook maneuvers from military doctrine centuries old. The human ships moved in predictable patterns, firing conventional weapons at target drones. Their railguns launched metal projectiles. Their missile systems deployed nuclear warheads that exploded in bright flashes. From the diplomatic viewing box, Susan could hear the polite but condescending comments from the alien representatives. "Such basic technology," an Arcturian diplomat said. "Remarkable that they achieved interstellar travel with such primitive systems. Their tactics have no adaptability," a Gentile military analyst clicked. "Predictable and easily countered." The Meridian High Commander, a being of pure crystalline energy, floated beside Susan. "We appreciate your demonstration, Ambassador Miller. The Concorde values all civilizations, regardless of their development stage." Susan smiled politely. "Thank you, High Commander. We humans have much to learn from the Concorde." As the human demonstration concluded with a simple formation flyby, many alien observers were already leaving, their interest waning. The human ships returned to their designated holding area, their engines glowing with basic fusion energy. Back aboard the Endurance, Admiral Peterson gathered his senior officers. "Observations?" he asked. Commander Phillips reported first. The Arcturian quantum weapons could be problematic. They bypass conventional shields completely. The Gentai regeneration technology is beyond anything we expected, added Lieutenant Paul Jackson from Tactical. Peterson nodded. And yet, did anyone notice what was missing from all their demonstrations? The officers looked at each other, uncertain. Adaptability, Peterson said simply. Each species showed incredible specialized technology, but none of them demonstrated the ability to counter unexpected threats. They've grown so confident in their technological superiority that they've forgotten the fundamentals of warfare. He looked out the viewport at the gathered alien fleets. Let's hope we never have to show them how humans really fight. But if we do. On the third day of the exhibition, Captain John Harrison woke early. He had a strange feeling in his gut, the same feeling he used to get before battles during his military service. Something was going to happen today. He made his way to the Diplomatic Center's control room, where Lieutenant Kate Foster was already at her station, monitoring communications. "Anything unusual?" he asked. Kate shook her head. "All normal. The Arcturians are complaining about their accommodations again. The Gentai are requesting more biological nutrients for their ships. Standard diplomatic traffic." John nodded but couldn't shake his feeling of unease. He checked in with Admiral Peterson aboard the Endurance and found everything normal there too. Ambassador Susan Miller joined them for the morning briefing, where the Concord representatives discussed the day's schedule. More demonstrations were planned, followed by preliminary voting on new membership applications. "The Palaxian representative informed me that our application looks favorable," Susan told John quietly. "They're impressed by our willingness to join despite our technological disadvantages. Their pity is working in our favor." John smiled thinly. Good. The morning passed without incident. John was beginning to think his instincts were wrong when every alarm in the Diplomatic Center suddenly blared to life. "Multiple unidentified ships detected at the edge of the system," announced the Centaurid Prime Defense Controller. "Over 200 vessels dropping out of FTL. They're not responding to hails." The Diplomatic Center erupted in chaos. Representatives from 17 species rushed to contact their ships and governments. Screens around the room showed the approaching vessels. Dark, angular ships moving in perfect formation. "The Void Collective," whispered an Arcturian diplomat standing near John. "Raiders from beyond Concord space." Kate pulled up information on her datapad. "Nomadic civilization of scavengers and conquerors. They attack developed systems, steal technology, then disappear. They've never attacked a target this large before." The Concord military commanders gathered quickly in the center's war room. John and Susan joined them as Earth representatives. "Our forces will repel this incursion," the Arcturian High Admiral announced confidently. "The collective has never faced the combined might of the Concord." But as the minutes passed, it became clear that the Concord response was in disarray. Each species had different communication protocols, different tactical doctrines. Their advanced ships moved individually, not as a coordinated force. They'd never fought together, John realized aloud. Each species developed their military in isolation. The Void Collective ships accelerated toward Centauri Prime. The planet's orbital defenses activated, but they wouldn't be enough to stop such a large fleet. "We need to coordinate," the Meridian commander chimed urgently. "Someone must organize our defense." All eyes turned to the Arcturian High Admiral, who was frantically trying to coordinate with his own fleet. Susan looked at John. He nodded slightly. "Perhaps Earth can assist," Susan suggested calmly. "We may not have your advanced technology, but we have extensive experience in coordinating multinational defense forces." The Concord commanders looked skeptical, but as the Void Collective ships grew closer on the displays, they had few options. "What do you propose?" asked the Gentai military leader. John stepped forward. "Admiral Peterson commands our fleet. He has fought in multiple coalition actions. Let him coordinate your ships into a unified defense." After a moment of hesitation, the Concord commanders agreed. They had little choice. The Void Collective was now just minutes away from weapons range. John opened a secure channel to the Endurance. "Frank, we have a situation," he said simply. Admiral Peterson's face appeared on the screen. He was calm, his uniform perfectly pressed despite the crisis. "I'm aware, Captain. We're monitoring the approach. The collective ships are targeting the civilian areas of Centauri Prime first. Standard terror tactics. The Concorde has agreed to let you coordinate their defense," John told him. "Their ships aren't used to fighting as a united force." Peterson nodded. "Understood. I'll establish a command network immediately." He paused, then asked quietly, "And our protocols?" John and Susan exchanged glances. This was what they had prepared for, but hoped to avoid. "Do what you need to do," Susan said firmly. "Protect Centauri Prime." Peterson nodded. "Understood, Ambassador." Endurance out. As the connection closed, John looked out at the stars. The true test of humanity was about to begin. Admiral Frank Peterson stood on the bridge of the Endurance, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The Void Collective ships were now visible even without sensors. Hundreds of dark vessels approaching Centauri Prime with clear intent. "Open a channel to all Concorde vessels," he ordered. His communications officer worked quickly. "Channel open." "Sir, you're connected to all ships." Peterson took a deep breath. "This is Admiral Frank Peterson of Earth. I will coordinate defensive measures. All vessels form up according to the tactical data we're transmitting." For a moment, silence filled the communication channels. Then the Arcturian flagship responded. "Your vessels are antiquated. What possible defense could you coordinate?" "My ship may be old, but Earth has extensive experience in coalition warfare," Peterson replied calmly. "The Void Collective is counting on your lack of coordination. Form up according to our tactical plan, or Centauri Prime will fall." Slowly, reluctantly, the alien vessels began to move into the formations Peterson had specified. The Arcturian quantum ships formed the first line of defense. The Meridian vessels created a net formation behind them. The Gentae High ships spread out to protect the flanks. "The first wave of collective ships will reach weapons range in 3 minutes," Commander Laura Phillips reported. Peterson nodded. "And our fleet?" "In position, sir. All ships report ready." Peterson looked at the human ships on the tactical display. They had taken position directly in front of Centauri Prime, where the civilian population was densest. It was the most dangerous position, and every alien commander had noticed the symbolism of the humans placing themselves as the last line of defense. In the diplomatic center, Captain John Harrison and Ambassador Susan Miller watched the preparations with the Concorde representatives. "Your admiral places your ships in great danger," the Palaxian representative observed. "The collective will break through the outer defenses eventually." "We stand with the Concorde," Susan replied simply. "Even if our technology is limited." The Void Collective opened fire first. Their weapons were surprisingly advanced. Dark energy beams that cut through space itself. The Arcturian ships responded with their quantum weaponry, and the battle began in earnest. On the bridge of the Endurance, Peterson watched as the carefully arranged Concorde ships fought with newfound coordination. Their advanced weapons were devastating when properly focused. "The first wave is breaking apart," Phillips reported, "but the second wave is adjusting their approach. They're targeting the weakest points in our formation." Peterson nodded. "They learn quickly. So must we." He opened the channel again. "All Concorde vessels, adjust formation pattern Alpha. Arcturian Squadron 2, shift to coordinates we're transmitting. Meridian vessels, intensify forward shields." The battle continued, and the Void Collective pressed their attack with unexpected ferocity. One by one, Concorde ships took heavy damage. A Meridian cruiser exploded in a shower of crystal fragments. 2 Arcturian destroyers lost propulsion and drifted helplessly. "Sir, the third wave is bypassing our forward defenses," Phillips reported urgently. "They're heading straight for Centauri Prime." "And us?" Peterson watched as 30 Void Collective ships accelerated toward Earth's obsolete fleet. The human vessels were all that stood between the raiders and millions of civilian lives on the planet below. "Time to target." Peterson asked calmly. 90 seconds, sir. Peterson walked to the center of the bridge. Every officer watched him, waiting for orders. This was the moment they had trained for. Open secure channel to all Earth vessels, he said. Channel open, sir. Peterson took a deep breath. What he was about to do would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. All ships. This is Admiral Peterson. Computer, initiate Lazarus Protocol. Authorization Peterson Alpha 709. The computer responded instantly. Lazarus Protocol initiated. Transformation sequence beginning. Around him, the bridge of the Endurance began to change. Hidden panels slid open. Advanced systems powered up. The lights dimmed briefly, then returned brighter than before. Throughout the human fleet, 30 obsolete warships began to transform. What happened next left every Concord observer in stunned silence. The 30 obsolete human warships began to transform before their eyes. Armor plates shifted, revealing advanced weapon systems underneath. Hull sections reconfigured, shedding their weathered appearance like a snake shedding its skin. Previously hidden propulsion systems flared to life with energy signatures that confused even the most sophisticated Concord sensors. In the diplomatic center, the alien representatives watched in shock as the tactical displays showed the human fleet changing into something unrecognizable. The old, boxy warships now gleamed with smooth, adaptive armor. Their engines glowed with energy that defied conventional analysis. What is happening? The Arcturian High Commander demanded. Captain John Harrison smiled slightly. We're revealing our actual capabilities. On the Endurance, Admiral Peterson stood on a bridge that had completely transformed. Advanced holographic displays surrounded him. His officers now worked at stations that had emerged from hidden compartments in the walls and floor. Transformation complete, Commander Phillips reported. All ships report ready for advanced operations. Begin counterattack, Peterson ordered. Full neural net coordination. The transformed human fleet moved with impossible precision. The ships didn't just fly in formation. They operated as a single organism, sharing data and resources across a quantum network. Each vessel could reconfigure itself based on tactical requirements, adapting weapons and defenses in real time. In the diplomatic center, Lieutenant Kate Foster had pulled several Concord military attaches into a side room to explain what they were seeing. Our ships are adaptive platforms, she told them. The real technology is the neural quantum architecture linking them together. We call it the Lazarus system. The Gentai military analyst clicked in disbelief. You concealed this technology during our inspections. We showed you exactly what you expected to see, Kate replied. Our actual advance isn't in weapons or shields. It's in integration and adaptation. On the view screens, they watched as the human ships engaged the Void Collective. The Raiders fired their dark energy weapons, but the human vessels shifted their hull configurations to absorb or deflect the attacks. When the human ships returned fire, their weapons were precisely calibrated to each enemy vessel's specific vulnerabilities. They're analyzing the enemy ships and adapting in real time, Kate explained. Each attack teaches our system something new. The Void Collective's advance faltered as they faced this unexpected resistance. Their tight formation broke apart as they tried to adapt to the humans' changing tactics. Admiral Peterson opened a channel to the Concord vessels. This is Admiral Peterson. We're transmitting tactical data to all ships. Follow the engagement patterns we're sending. Slowly, the Concord ships began to coordinate with the human fleet. The Arcturian quantum weapons became more effective when targeting the weak points identified by the human analysis system. The Meridian shields complemented the human defensive patterns. The Gentai ships found their biological adaptations enhanced by the tactical suggestions from the human neural network. For the first time, the 17 species of the Galactic Concord fought as a unified force, guided by human coordination. In the diplomatic center, Ambassador Susan Miller stood beside the Palaxian representative, watching the battle turn in their favor. You deceived us. the Palaxian said, but there was no anger in his voice, only wonder. We showed you what you expected to see, Susan replied. Humans learned long ago that appearances can be deceiving. Why reveal your true capabilities now? You could have maintained the deception. Susan looked at the tactical display, where human and alien ships now fought side by side against the Void Collective. Because some things are more important than secrets. On the Endurance, Admiral Peterson watched with satisfaction as the Void Collective began to retreat. Their first wave had been decimated. Their second was in disarray. The third was turning to flee. They're pulling back, Commander Phillips reported. All approach vectors to Centauri Prime are secure. Peterson nodded. Maintain pursuit until they leave the system. Don't let any of them near the civilian areas. The transformed human ships accelerated after the retreating raiders, their advanced engines leaving trails of exotic particles. The battle was not over yet, but its outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity had shown its true face to the galaxy. 3 days after the battle, representatives from all 17 Concord species gathered in the Grand Conclave Chamber on Centauri Prime. The room hummed with excited conversation as the delegates discussed what they had witnessed. At the center of the chamber stood Ambassador Susan Miller, Captain John Harrison, and Admiral Frank Peterson. The human fleet had resumed its unassuming appearance after the battle, but nobody was fooled anymore. The secret was out. The Arcturian High Commander approached with newfound respect in his eyes. You concealed your true capabilities from us, he said. Why? Not to deceive, Susan replied, but to learn. We needed to know if the Concord valued appearances over substance. Admiral Peterson nodded. Centuries ago, humanity learned a painful lesson in the Proxima War. Technology alone doesn't win conflicts. Adaptation does. In the days following the battle, the true extent of human technology had become clear to the Concord. What they had witnessed wasn't just advanced weaponry, but a completely different approach to warfare and technology. What you saw wasn't our military might, Peterson explained to the gathered representatives. It was our philosophy. Our ships are shells, adaptable platforms. The real technology is how they work together, how they learn and change. The Gentai military leader clicked thoughtfully. Your vessels adapted to our weapons as the battle progressed. They learned. Yes, Peterson confirmed. The neural quantum architecture allows instant sharing of tactical data. Each ship knows what every other ship knows. Each weapon adjusts based on what works best against each target. The Meridian commander chimed in. Our civilizations developed powerful specialized technologies. You developed integration and adaptation instead. John Harrison smiled. Humans have always been good at learning from others. We took that principle and built it into our technology. The Palaxian Council leader stepped forward, carrying the formal Concord membership seal. The Concord has voted unanimously to accept Earth as a full member, with all rights and privileges. Your demonstration in battle proved your worthiness beyond any doubt. Susan accepted the seal with a bow. Earth is honored to join the Concord. We look forward to sharing knowledge and working together. Will you share your adaptive technology with the Concord? Asked the Arcturian High Commander. Susan glanced at Admiral Peterson before answering. Yes, but in exchange, we ask for access to your specialized technologies. Together, we can create something greater than either of us could alone. The chamber erupted in approving sounds from the various species. The first true technological exchange in Concord history was about to begin. Later, as the human delegation prepared to return to Earth with news of their success, John found Admiral Peterson looking out at the starfield from the observation deck. Having second thoughts about revealing our technology, John asked. Peterson shook his head. No, it was always a question of when, not if. I'm just thinking about what comes next. The Concord will never be the same, John said. They've been comfortable in their technological superiority for too long. We've challenged their fundamental assumptions. And they've challenged ours, Peterson replied. Their specialized technologies are remarkable. Combined with our adaptive systems, he left the thought unfinished. From across the room, Susan joined them. The first joint human Concord research team is already being formed. They're calling it the Synergy Initiative. As they watched the stars, a formation of Concord ships passed the viewport, flying alongside transformed human vessels in a display of unity. The ships no longer needed to hide their true nature. "Do you think there are more threats out there?" John asked quietly. "Beyond the Void Collective?" Peterson's expression grew serious. "Almost certainly. The galaxy is vast and mostly unexplored." "Then we're lucky we found allies," Susan said. Peterson nodded in agreement. "And they're lucky they found us." The human delegation boarded their ship the next day, leaving behind the obsolete appearance they had maintained for so long. As they departed for Earth, their vessel gleamed with the same adaptive technology that had saved Centauri Prime. The day humans unveiled their true capabilities, they didn't just join the galaxy. They changed it forever.